well out there. And, well, it's starting to get funky weather here, as usual, kind of a weather report with the winter kind of being crazy in North Texas. The precip has started, the temperature is dropping. It's about to get froze. But I hope you guys are staying warm, enjoying your the news that we're going to have longer weather and the longer winter, according to said groundhogs and various other animals today. So, all right. Oh, well, hence Sanhead and John there from joining us for WineShark Wednesday. It's quiz day, everybody. We're going to have some fun today just because I was feeling in the mode and had some interesting questions and conversations with some customers over the last week. And I was like, I had this idea and I'd been messing around with it and I wanted to bring it in as part of the everyday show. But generally speaking, just how interesting certain wine quiz questions can get. And while being, professional educator, there's still stuff that, you get blindsided and the trivium and the little nine details. So we're going to see how well I do today answering some questions from a game I've actually got called Wine Wars that has some wonderful little trivia in several different categories. Then we're going to get on to the grocery store grab. I'm going to be drinking some nice little red blend here from the Stag. So we'll get to talking about it in a little while. We'll see exactly how many of these we kind of get through. I'm probably just going to go around, score a few, see how well I do, just for the giggles of it, and see how you guys do on answering some of those questions too. Feel free to answer along in the chat should you feel the need. But first, we're going to start with the categories. This is built very similar to like a Trivial Pursuit style card. Each card has 5 categories, and those categories correspond to different parts of wine trivia knowledge. So there's Vine to Vino, obviously about how we're taking it from growing wine to making wine. We've got the Graposphere, which is all about the grapes themselves, different varietals, their characteristics. We've got Wine Cellar, which has to do with storing, tasting, that kind of thing. Wine and food seems pretty obvious, and then cork culture, the traditions and such that we have around the world of wine. So, without further ado, let's see how smart or dumb our WineShark is today with our quiz material. And I'm just going to go down each card. I'm just going to go down and read. So the five per when we do a couple of 5 cards. We'll see what we got. All right. So the first question of the day. When are vines pruned for lower grape yields and thereby optimal grape quality? Is it in spring, summer, fall, or winter? So when do they prune for optimal quality? I'll give you guys a second. But my answer here is going to be winter. In fact, I just watched a couple of cool Instagram videos of some of my some famous wines and wineries going about their winter business and going out there in the field and head trimming those back to like one single spur of vine that's going to come back. And of course, they do that, remember, to increase quality. They want to concentrate all the energy of that vine. So let's see if I'm right. Yes, indeed, winter is our answer. So ding, ding, ding for me. That's 1 point for WineShark. What else have we got? All right, we've got the next one, which is, what is that? We say grapes. This is grapes. What state was Merlot's first U.S. home where planted acres soared in tandem with consumer popularity in the 90s? Oh, that's got to be California. I mean, that would be an interesting question, a more difficult question if it didn't have a time frame, but I'm going to say California if it was the 90s. Yes, indeed, California. The tricky one there is it could also be Washington State. They grow a reasonable amount of Merlot up there, too. All right, next up on the, let's see, wine cellar. Right, that's our category. I'll get these memorized eventually. All right, so we've got true or false question here. The U.S. government requires sulfite labeling on wines to protect those sensitive to SO2, especially sulfite-sensitive as asthmatics. The answer is true. Don't let them demonize sulfites. If you're not an asthmatic or you're not aware of a sulfite allergy, chances are you are not going to be affected in any way, shape, or form by the consumption of sulfites. The answer says is true. Ooh, with details. Labeling is required for wines containing more than 10 ppm, 10 parts per million. Wine generally ranges from 30 to 150 parts per million. As I've stated before, even a single serving of French fries from a fast food restaurant contains 1,200 times more sulfites than a single glass of red wine. So End the freak out. Anyway, next question on the wine and food category. True or false? Ripe Brie is popular wine pairing cheese for its versatility in matching most wines. I'm going to say false on that. Brie is fairly mild cheese, and I don't know, maybe they're thinking it's some sort of palate, but I'm going to go with false. Oh, well, they say false. So when fully ripe, Brie will overpower most wines. Although, overpower most wines is my butt. But Brie does get a little bit of stank on it when it gets ripe. But let's just say, but a sparkling wine may stand up. See, that doesn't make much sense to me. Most sparkling wines aren't big, bold wines. Sparkling wines are great for Brie because they cleanse your palate. Brie is a soft cheese that's sticky. So I don't agree with their premise, although, hey, that's still one in my favor. So far, I'm not doing too bad. Last on this card, which merchant is the largest retailer of wine in the United States? Walmart, Costco, or Trader Joe's? Ooh, man. This is a tough one. Trader Joe's, of course, is known for their $2 Chuck label, but they also have a lot of their own private label wines that they make. We've got Costco and the Kirkwood, is it Kirkland? They've got their own brand of wine. They sell a lot of wine, and of course it's Costco, so they sell everything in large amounts. So maybe you have to buy 4 cases of wine at a time when you go to Costco. And Walmart's just Walmart, and nobody likes Walmart, so I'm not even going to say that. But I'm going to go with Costco. I think I've heard things about their brand of wine, their Kirkland brand, being really, really big. Indeed, Costco, but with no explanation, so we'll just have to take the fact. Okay, so far I'm pulling strong for the team if we ever get into a desperate quiz about wine, because we know that's all really likely to happen in my world. John says Brie's just nasty. Brie's not nasty. Brie's good for you, man. Come on. All things in their place, man. I mean, a good triple cream Brie is like butter times 10. Okay, next up. Which scale system is used in the U.S. to measure the sugar content of grapes in wine? Brix or Beaumet? Answer is Brix, B-R-I-X. That is correct. Brix, Beaumet is a measure of sugar concentration commonly used by winemakers in Australia. Oh, wait a minute. Then it can't be pronounced Beaumet. It's got to be like Balmy if it's Australian. So, Balmy. How balmy is your wine? It's so balmy, it's full of sugar. Right. Anyway, all right, next question. That's still another one for me. Doing pretty good. I'm impressed. I figured I'd be worse at some of these. True or false? In the vineyard, Pinot Gris grapes are known for their consistent gray color. I'm going to go with true, since how the name is Pinot and Gris. Although consistent is a maybe tricky phrasing of this. They turn kind of an ashen gray when they're fully ripe. So, and their color is actually more of a dusky rose. So let's see how we're going to play the game-making game here. And we're going to say false, even though they're not. All right, I'm committing to false. Yep, answer they say is false. Pinot Gris grapes can range in color from blush silver gray to mauve pink to ashen yellow. So see, consistency was their tricky word. Just because the word Brie, sorry, I'm distracted by Cuthbert declaiming Brie is awesome. Just because the color gray is present in the name doesn't mean that the color is consistent and blah, blah, blah. I'll tell you, though, Pinot Gris and gray grapes are some of the prettiest, I think, at full ripeness, because most of your big red grapes, for instance, are a fairly consistent dark color, but the rosy pink and dusky rose colors that the gray grapes get, I think, are freaking awesome. So take that or leave it. Welcome back, Cuthbert. Great to see you alive and kicking. Thanks for coming to the show. All right, what else? We got what common beverage stopper is used during bottle fermentation to make sparkling wines? A special kind of cork? What common beverage stopper is used during bottle fermentation? Yeah, I'm going to go with like a mushroom cork, like the mushroom shapes. I don't know the technical name for that, so I might be getting wrong here. All right, so wait, what am I so far? I'm at 7. We're doing pretty good. All right. It says a crown cap. -1 for me. Okay, so a crown cap is used during bottle. Oh, duh, that's right. They actually use like what we would think of in a beer, like a beer cap. They use those, then pop them off, then put the corks in after dosage. Oh, okay. Totally good. I copped the honest fail on that one. All right. True or false? Fancy stemware is a formality of wine drinking and will not make the wine taste better. Wow, that right there, that's a poorly worded question. And I'll say why. The answer they're looking for, I'm betting here, is false. It is not a formality. It is an important part. We have talked about why wine shapes matter and glassware matters. However, I disagree wholeheartedly on the idea that it tastes better. That is not really an accurate statement. You will smell more. Good glassware will transmit flavor better, but it doesn't make it taste better. It makes it taste more, because better would be is a qualitative statement on whether you like it or not. In other words, I can't take a glass of wine and pour it into a juice glass, then hand it to you and go, "Oh, this is awful," and then I pour it in my crystal stemware, and you're like, "My God, man, what have you done? And where have you been all my life?" No, that's not how it's going to be. Okay, so their answer is false. The taste changes with different glasses. Good stemware enhances aromas, flavors, and overall enjoyment of wine. So the second part is true, but it doesn't change. I mean, I disagree with the idea that it changes anything. Just because you can't smell something really well doesn't mean it's poor in taste. I mean, I guess you could hold your nose and drink sour milk. Anyway, that's one of my pet peeves in the wine world. Now I get to credit that as a correction, but I'm correcting them, so I want like bonus points at the end. All right, next up, final for this card. So we're doing 8-1 here so far. Not bad, man. I'm killing it. Take me on Jeopardy. All right, true or false? The first movie branded wine, a 2004 Ratatouille Bourgogne Chardonnay, was released at Costco stores in August 2007. So the thing that is true or false is, was that the first? Because I absolutely believe that they made Ratatouille Chardonnay and sold it at Costco. The fact is not whether I believe that there's a rat cartoon wine. It's whether I believe it was the first one. I'm going to go ahead and risk it, and we're just going to go ahead and say true. But watch. There'll be some other weird wine connection here. False. Disney, Pixar, and Costco canceled the release of their Ratatouille wine under fire from opponents of underage drinking. The label featured Remy the rat. Okay, so all of the things was true except for the fact that it got released. Tricky way to word a question. Not very friendly. But wow. Because, yeah, you know what kids do? When I was a kid and wasn't able to drink yet, I was certainly reaching for the cartoon-shaped rat. Nothing said quality in my life like, man, that'll give me a great buzz. Just like that. Joe Camel smoking and that dog that sold Bud Light too. Whatever. I swear, sometimes. All right. So we're 8-2. Not too bad so far. I think we got time for a couple more. There's no rush. I'm not going anywhere. It's going to be freezing outside any minute now. So, true or false? Chile plants Vitis vinifera directly into the soil, skipping the grafting of budwood onto phylloxera-resistant rootstock. Oh, so the question is does Chile have a phylloxera problem? So, just to break that apart as a knowledge opportunity, phylloxera-resistant rootstock is often used then with other Vitis vinifera tops to grow wine in places where phylloxera, the root louse, wow, got that messed up. The root louse is present, okay? So this is one of the stories you might also hear how Texas rootstock saved France. I mean, yeah, actually, while winemakers brought phylloxera from the New World back to the Old World and gave it to all their vines, they also used the same vines that we grew here to basically make their grapes safe over there. Because the phylloxera, the plants had evolved with the phylloxera to be resistant to it. So, is Chile subject to phylloxera? Let's see. I'm going to go with false. I'm betting that Chile has, because sandy soils are usually the place for you, and Chile is often its own thing. So, I don't know. I'm going to go with false. I'm going to risk it. Answer was true. Said to date, Chile has been phylloxera free. So, one wrong for me. That's a good one to know, too. I think that's practical, good sommelier wine knowledge, though. You should know whether Chile is. So I count that as an education moment for myself. John says Spuds McKenzie got him into drinking terrible beer. Well, See, you are one of those perfectly marketing people. We love marketing to people like you. All right. So next up, we're back in the category of Graposphere. Where, which is weird. Why? I guess that does have to do with vines. The last question. All right. Where is Cabernet Sauvignon less likely to be blended with Merlot? Bordeaux or Chile? Answer there is Chile. Bordeaux is a very big, very popular place for making blends. And Bordeaux style blends are kind of the norm, hence the name. Yeah, answer is Chile. Chilean Cabernet Sauvignon has soft tannins and doesn't need softening partners. Bullshit. That's a winemaking style choice. It's not one of those, it's somehow magical or better than France. It's just a winemaking style choice. So I disagree with their extended answer. All right. Third up. So wait a minute. That was one more for me. All right. How much time does your nose have to assess wine aromas in a swirled glass before the nose fatigue sets in? 6, 12, or 24 seconds? I would go. I'm going to aim on the short side here. Generally speaking, I think that's something that nose fatigue, as they call it, happens fairly quickly. Let's go with 6. Answer is yes, about 6 seconds. Concentration is required. In other words, what they're saying is you don't just sit there and breathe your wine in like an oxygen mask that fell out of a stewardess on a first-class flight. You want to be very brief. You might also hear some differences in method of your aroma smell. For instance, I recommend that you tilt the glass back and take one nice deep breath in, and then hold it, and then let it out. Whereas you might also hear other tasters that'll do very short, sharp smells, right? And as to avoid fatigue. If you're doing this in a big tasting where you're doing a lot of aroma analysis, say you're tasting 20, 30, 50, 100 wines in a competition, you got to be real careful with that, right? You'll often see people smell the back of their hand to reset their nose, or use other devices to basically kind of cleanse their palate of wine aromas and kind of reset themselves to come at it again. Okay, so nose fatigue, it's real. All right, so that's good for me. They're doing well. Next up, true or false? Well-paired food and wine can make each taste better than they do alone. Wow. That's a softball question. Of course they do. It's the reason that the whole kind of concept of wine and food pairing exists. The goal is to do just that, is to make each partner taste better. An excellent system, I believe, was James Avery. I want to say Avery? Yeah. I'm going to have to check the flavor Bible. So hang on. That may be an error. I'm remembering a name incorrectly, but I do have... Oh, of course I don't. I don't have my book right next to me because I used it out in the living room earlier today doing wine pairings. Anyway, there's a great book called The Flavor Bible that describes this process that was actually used by somebody else, but a rating system for how successful your wine and food or pairing was, or even your wine and beer pairing, or wine and spirits pairing. Sorry, beer and food, wine and food, spirits and food. In other words, what your food pairing was like. And a simple system, almost like counting cards. Basically, 0 was a do no harm kind of pairing. Neither one was benefiting. A single plus would be you're getting a little bit more than you had before. One of the partners is definitely helping the other out. And then a +2 would be something that is really a transcendent pairing, where together these things are something something combined that was better than the sum of their parts. And then the same is in the reverse, whereas a -1 would be something that these don't taste good together. There's something wrong with this. Whereas a -2 is, wow, there's a train wreck happening in my mouth. Something bad's going down here. Don't do that. Chemical reaction, something like that. So, all right, that's not bad. That's another one for me. That was a softball, though. I almost don't want to count it. What city is the location of Auréole, the restaurant where an electronic wine menu shows live video of wine angels retrieving bottles in a 4-story wine tower? Guys, where is the place where you've got video feeds of angels retrieving your wine from a tower? If anybody is not thinking about Las Vegas right now, you're doing it wrong. Answer is, of course, Las Vegas. Yes. The $1.2 million tower at Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino holds about 10K bottles. So, yeah, if you're going to do it up and you're going to do it extravagant, Vegas is the place to be. All right, well, that's not bad. So I did pretty well there. I didn't think I'd do as well with these. I mean, even if it was regular friggin', you know, Trivial Pursuit, I'd get more wrong than that. But I guess it is kind of my niche. So maybe I'm kind of cheating. All right, one more card, and then we're going to talk grocery store crap. Because, well, you can sit here and listen to me do this all night. I'd just be sitting here blabbering to myself, but there you go. Okay, what term describes the year a wine's grapes were grown and harvested? Everybody, this is a pretty good softball one for most of you. That would be vintage. Yes, vintage is the correct answer. So ding, ding, ding for me. All right, true or false? Low acidity is the key to balancing the heady flavors of aromas of Gewürztraminer from the Alsace region of France. Excellent question, and it really kind of points to something. The answer here is true. I'm going to double check that they think it's true, but my answer and my logic here is Gewürztraminer, Rieslings, even when we get into the dessert class wines like Trockenbach and Auslese Rieslings or even Sauterne, these wines that have big, heady, strong aromas and oftentimes high residual sugars, acidity is a key to balance. Acidity is even a key to balance on your big, bold reds, right? Not getting run over by other things. Balance and harmony are something that winemakers are always trying to achieve. You can highlight a feature, but you don't, you always still need balance. And acidity is something that too often gets trampled on. True, high acidity prevents the wines from being cloying. See that? Just like that. So, hey, ding, ding, ding for me. Well, look, I can make a Windows make a noise, and that sounds like a bell. Oh, look. All I have to do is press too many keys at once. All right. This is low acidity. Sorry, I'm saying high acidity. I even told that wrong. Yeah, see? So the answer was false, but I answered it correctly. See, that's a tricky question. The way that that's worded is awful. All right, but still that's the right answer. All right, which should not be worn into a wine tasting? Constricting neckties, dentures, or fragrances? Well, if we left constricting neckties and dentures out of it, half of the old school wine world would be not allowed in the building. So that clearly the answer is fragrances. Of course, you don't want to wear anything that smells to a place where you're trying to detect smells. That's just counterintuitive. So it's, of course, fragrances. That was another softball. Yeah, John's right. I mean, they weirded to trick you up. Hey, man, you can catch a good sommelier off of this game. True or false? A still white wine may be appropriately poured to fill the glass half full. That's a why? No. Again, poorly worded question. A proper pour is not about half the glass. It's generally speaking about 5 ounces. Your glass size is going to determine a lot of that. So, I mean, if you look at this 18.2 ounce glass, you're not pouring a white wine up to here. Unless you've had a really long day at work. You've often heard me talk about a standard pour, a mom pour, and an educator pour. Well, fact is, half full is neither an optimistic, pessimistic, nor realistic thing. It is not a unit of wine measurement. So I dispute this question, although I'm going to go ahead and say true just to see what the hell their logic is. They say true. Most white wines don't need the swirl room or aeration in the glass required by a serious red wine. Bullshit. That's such a bullshit answer. I'm right and they're wrong. I get double points for that. Because I'm sorry, if your white wines aren't getting the same treatment as your reds, then you have some sort of bias like that. You're not drinking the right white wines. The idea that they need less swirl room. Now, if you look at the way that the glasses are shaped over different glassware, the glasses are generally smaller. They have less aeration room, but there's almost always a similar amount of headspace in the glass for proper swirling. It's not about whether they're too weak to not need it. Boo, boo, boo. All right, last question. Who is the celebrity owner of Remick Ridge Vineyards? Is it the Smothers Brothers, the Beckham family, David and Victoria, or is it Alex Trebek? In honor of the quiz thing, and since I have no idea who Remick... Actually, you know what? I'm betting the Smothers Brothers just because it sounds odd. And I think I remember something about them owning a winery. So we're going to say the Smothers Brothers, although, boy, quiz show etiquette demands that you answer Alec Trebek to any question in which he appears. It was indeed Dick and Tom Smothers. So ding, ding, ding for me. All right, well, that was fun. That was a lot of cool questions, and man, again, even some learning opportunities, I think, here. I kind of like pointing out the things where I disagree with their logic because, well, wow, that's not a thing sometimes. So, hey, and some of these things are science. These are things that I'm hoping, well, I'm not trying to say that these are opinions of mine. I'm like, these are things that I think we would find as pretty good common knowledge and or scientific fact. So, not just whether you like or don't like something. So, Cuthbert said, I have to swirl some of my whites more just to pick up the delicate aromas. Taking your time, Cuthbert, great point, is that, for wines that are not as robust in their bouquet, that are not really giving off a lot of aromas, it might take time to pick out the subtlety. So, very good point there that, take your time with it. Don't worry so much about your nose fatigue if you're not smelling anything at all. Found an example, for instance, we were at a wine tasting and a wine dinner last night for one of my favorite wineries, Ridge. And the wines that were on offer were their 2019 vintages, fairly new. These are their fairly new releases. The wines were not what I would call particularly loud or aromatic. They were delightful and well built, but they have not yet blossomed into their amazing aromatic experiences that they will be in the future. Can I just move my camera? I'm moving all over the place here. So, anyway, let's move on to the grocery store grab. Speaking of aromas, for you guys that may be watching this one of my videos for the first time, the grocery store grab. The premise is to get the best value per dollar for wines found at non-specialty and non-big box retailers. If you don't have the opportunity to shop at a big wine store or a specialty store, you shop for convenience or necessity at a grocery store, you're kind of in the land where not a lot of help picking your wines is kind of the state of the union. So we want to make sure that we focus on label focus first. We learn how to use labels, and we reward wines that are well labeled to tell us what is in the bottle using common language that's easy to understand. I choose these wines without prior knowledge or research, and we basically focus on learning what's on the label. So we want to know what's in the bottle, where the grapes are grown, and what does the wine taste like in simple, easy to understand language. So our wine of the day today is the Stag. So this got my attention in the way that wines on the grocery store shelves get your attention. I liked the label. I liked the Peking White Stag here and thought he was rather dramatic and kind of sketchy looking, to be honest with you. And so I had never tried the brand. It had the White Stag, as I said, was kind of interesting looking, and I liked the fact that it was a Paso red wine. So, hey, it ticks a lot of boxes here. We've got the name of the wine, the Stag. We've got who's actually making it. It's St. Hubert. Where it's from, Paso Robles. Red wine. This implies that it is a blend, and it's, of course, vintage. Now, my vintage is 2019. This image that I found was 2017. So, accepting of that, this is what I was looking at, too. I like their little contrast, white on black, reverse imagery here. Kind of neat. So let's see what it says, though, on the back of the bottle. All right, I'm actually going to have to switch my glasses here so I can read it, because the first things first, typesetting on this, super tiny. All right, so the Stag is a symbol of power and elegance. The stuff of myth and legend revered the world over, he personifies strength and grace. All right, well, tell us all about your Stag. Anyway, here's where they get to the meat and potatoes. This opulent yet refined red wine, big capital red wine in their typographer, by the way, has failed. He's using 3 different typefaces and 2 different font styles. We're downshifting into a very tiny italic text here that says, celebrates this noble creature. Reflective of its coastal Paso Robles origins, this wine is generous in dark berry, spice, and a hint of oak, which support velvety tannins and a lengthy finish. In the tradition of Saint Hubert, our patron saint, this wine is worthy of the hunt. All right, 14.5% alcohol by volume and all the usual legalese that are portrayed upon the bottle. So we've got dark berry, spice, hint of oak, the soft tannins, lengthy finish. Now, it's not ticking one of my favorite boxes. It's told us what it is and where it's from, but it isn't telling me anything about the grapes themselves. It's telling us about the actual, it's telling about its flavors, which is good, but it's not saying what type of blend it is. Now, knowing a little bit about Paso in general, if you're at that level, Paso grows a lot of Cab, Zinfandel, Petit Syrah, Petit Verdot, Tempranillo. So any one of those things could be in here. I have not practiced the art of pulling apart and analyzing what's in red blends to any real practice degree. There's some things I know, and just about things you look for certain types of grapes because they have, for instance, darker colorations and things like that, certain aroma profiles. But when you really start getting into 3 or more types of grape in the glass, there's a lot of overlap, and it's difficult sometimes to pick out what's what. But coloratively, color-wise speaking, this has a iconically very dark red. It is in that dark red blend category. We're looking at a full, no rim variation. It's very high color and high extraction all the way to the rim. Can't really see through it, so just by looking at it, it's implying it's got some inky, good power to it. Obviously, I've been sipping this all throughout the show, but just to go back and reanalyze on the nose, yeah, it's got it's got that baked dark fruit pie kind of profile. That's very familiar to, I think, a lot of red blends these days. When you're using reasonable amounts of oak, you get that sort of baking spice plan where everything from vanilla to nutmeg to allspice, things like that, start to come out in the wine. But you're grounding and setting that on a firm dark fruit palate. I said, what did we say that they said? They said dark berries, so that's not very specific. But in this case, sure, currants and blackberry pie, blueberry pie, maybe. Yeah, very much in that range, in the dark fruit range. More black fruits than blue fruits in this case. Okay, so it's kind of so far it's ticking its boxes that it says. It's got that spice, the hint of oak. That's what we're smelling in that vanilla kind of category, right? It doesn't smell like wood per se, but it definitely has that oaky kind of influence. And then dark berries in the broad sense. It does. So on our sip here, pretty powerful when you leave it on your palate for a while. I've just been sitting here kind of quaffing it. When you really let it sit on your palate, it's very aggressive all over the palate. Lots of intense dark fruit flavor. Now, definitely in that cooked or stewed kind of category. Rather than fresh berries, it tastes like they're in a jam or a jelly, which is very palate pleasing but different. That also means that the acidity is fairly mild. We're not getting a huge ton of mouthwatering, but it's balanced enough. The tannins definitely present towards the middle of your tongue, and they are, I wouldn't call them quite yet velvety, but they're definitely softer. People that don't like tannins are definitely going to look at this funny because it does have a high presence, but they are well structured. I think they're pretty well executed. They're not out of balance, and this has definitely got its kind of ducks in a row. By the way, from a cost perspective, this was $23 before the listed club price. The usual, get a discount from the grocery store. This was $20. So this is a $20 red blend and should be, tasting in that sort of price category. This is not an inexpensive red. This is a little bit up in that premium category, that super premium category. So the finish lingers around for a bit. I think I agree with them on their lingering finish. It doesn't just go away. That's also kind of a benefit of the nature of these wines. I would expect a red blend like this. I'm guessing that they've got some Zin, some Cab, maybe. Well, I don't know. I want to say maybe even more like Zin, Tempranillo, Petit Syrah. But there is a little bit of a green note in there that maybe is the peppercorn hallmark of of one of the Burgundy varietals, Merlot or Cab Franc or Cab Sauv. I doubt Cab Franc, but maybe Cab Sauv. Yeah. Pleasant, totally doable. Is it well executed? Yes, absolutely. No wine does not have any flaws. It is doing its thing. Is it on style? Can't tell you. Is it on style for red wine as it's labeled? Yes? Question mark. No, we don't know enough about the wine to talk about its style. Does it taste like Paso Robles? I mean, Paso Robles right now is doing all kinds of cool, funky, non-Bordeaux style blends, using a lot of those grapes that I mentioned. The Bordeaux style blends generally stick to the Cab Merlot, Cab Franc core, with a couple of other tack and add-ons, and Malbec Petit Syrah or Malbec Petit Bordeaux. So down here, they've got a lot more range to play with Zinfandel and Tempranillo, other things. So I like the fact that they're doing cool, unique things. I wish they would tell me what's in the damn bottle. Just you. That's definitely, they're going to lose a mark for that. But other than that, they're at least giving us common language. So I think that they are. They are. Well, I can't say that they're on style. They are indeed well executed. Is it worth the price tag? For 20? Yeah. This is an interesting red blend. Although again, at this same price point, you're starting to compete with people that will tell me what's in the bottle, like Chronic Cellars, who's also out of Paso Robles, and I can see their breakdown and their blend. And out of curiosity now, why don't we do this? Let's look up the Stag Red wine on the intertubes. Let us see whether they, at their website, tell us more using... Oh, there's the things. So it says Syrah, Malbec, Merlot, Petit Syrah, Cabernet Sauvignon, Petit Verdot, and Mourvedre. Whoa. That is the kitchen and the sink included in that wine. So now by the way, that's an answer of a people also ask. I'm not yet looking at I'm going to look up Saint Hubert wines. I'm not looking at an actual text sheet yet. So I'm take that with a grain of internet on it. Just a little 2 dashes of internet believability, which is something akin to not much. Where is this? Saint Hubert. Where are your wines? Tell me you have Saint Hubert wine. I searched for one of their wines and didn't find it. Really? My Google Foo is weak tonight for some reason. There, haha, got it. Our wines. Saint Hubert's, our wines. Pinot Noir, Shiraz, Tempranillo Shiraz, Heathcote Shiraz. They got all kinds of Shiraz. And I'm not seeing anything for their red. Go figure. Okay, well, let's look into their Temp Shiraz. Let's see if they do whether they offer good tech sheets anyway. They've got tasting notes for their 2017s. Yeah, so when they do give a tasting sheet, they give a worthy and appropriate one, where they've got the vineyard regions, vintage conditions, harvest dates, pH, acidity, alcohol, RS, all the, and very good. So this says, for instance, this wine is their Tempranillo Shiraz was 60% Tempranillo and 40% Shiraz. So that's kind of cool. All right. They obviously have their chops together when it comes to knowing the product. I just wish that they would connect it with this grocery store brand that they're trying to sell. Do the work, Saint Hubert. You make good juice, so follow through. Put a QR code on there if you don't want to tell me on the label. And somebody fire your typography. Some of us have, problems reading 6-point italic serif fonts. Look like you're trying to save space for something, and I'm not sure what it is. All right. Hashtag end rant, more wine. Anyway, in news from WineShark, etc., for my Patreons, expect news tomorrow. I've got new things for you. Been trying to come up with new and crazy fun things that give you guys your money's worth for your generous donations at Patreon. So I've come up with a program that's going to give you something theoretically every week of the month, working and focusing on wine and food pairings, specifically a recipe with a recommended wine that you can then take and prepare at home yourself, and the condensed form of what our former Zoom meetings were. The Zoom meetings were getting hard to time and get enough critical mass to make the conversation interesting. So I'm going to take the content that normally would be shared during the Zoom meetings, record that, and make it available for Patreons so that you guys can take the wine list and the wine and cheese list or the wine and whatever list, take it ahead of time, and in the comfort of your very own home, enjoy me talking to you from the television set down through internet, time, and space, and enjoying your tasting on your own. Again, something that I hope just want to give you that kind of cool feedback. It's great for me to continue to dive into various topics and keep my knowledge fresh and expanding. As the wine quiz tells me, you can't be right at everything. So look for that if you guys are on Patreon. If you guys are not on Patreon, you guys ought to consider checking it out. All the things I just said, exclusive to those folks. They get that benefit that comes to them every month, and it is a very cool way to help support yours truly, the WineShark. At the least, if you like what you see tonight and had a good time, hit that like and that subscribe button down below. Help us succeed here in this fun way of sharing content with you. And until next time, I have been your WineShark. Cheers. I'm telling you, man, I'm going to advocate for QR codes. There's got to be some reason somewhere out there that can save us. All right, well, good night, everyone.